Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my series reading Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. Without further ado, returning to Oliver Twist as read by Lord Naren White. Known what? Asked the other. Speak! The boy grew so like his mother, said the woman. Rambling on, and not heeding the question, that I could never forget it when I saw her face. Poor girl, poor girl. She was so young, too, such a gentle lamb. Wait, there's more to tell. I've not told you all, have I? No, no, replied the matron, inclining her head to catch the words as they came more faintly from the dying woman. Be quick, or it may be too late. The mother, said the woman, making a more violent effort than before. The mother, when the pains of death first came upon her, whispered in my ear that if her baby was born alive and thrived, the day might come when it would not feel so disgraced to hear its poor young mother named. And oh, kind heaven, she said, folding her thin hands together, whether it be boy or girl, raise up some friends for it in this troubled world, and take pity upon a lonely, desolate child, abandoned to its mercy. The boy's name? Demanded the matron. They called him Oliver, replied the woman feebly. The gold I stole was... Yes? Yes, what? Cried the other. She was bending eagerly over the woman to hear her reply, but drew back instinctively as she once again rose slowly and stiffly into a sitting posture. Then, clutching the coverlid with both hands, muttered some indistinct sounds in her throat, and fell lifeless on the bed. Stone dead, said one of the women, the old woman, hurrying in as soon as the door was opened. And nothing to tell after all, rejoined the matron, walking carelessly away. The two crones, to all appearance, too busily occupied in the preparations for their dreadful duties to make any reply, were left alone, hovering about the body. Chapter 25, wherein this history reverts to Mr. Fagin and company. While these things were passing in the country workhouse, Mr. Fagin sat in the old den, the same from which Oliver had been removed by the girl, brooding over a dull, smoky fire. He heard a pair of bellows upon his knee, with which he had apparently been endeavoring to rouse it into more cheerful action, but he had fallen into deep thought, and with his arms folded on them, and his chin resting on his thumbs, fixed his eyes abstractedly on the rusty bar. At a table behind them sat the artful Dodger, Master Charlie Bates, and Mr. Chitling, all intent upon a game of whist, the artful taking dummy against Master Bates and Mr. Chitling. The countenance of the first-named gentleman, peculiarly intelligent at all times, acquired great additional interest from close observance of the game, and his attentive perusal of Mr. Chitling's hand, upon which, from time to time, as occasion served, he bestowed a variety of earnest glances, wisely regulating his own play by the result of his observations upon his neighbor's cards. It being a cold night, the Dodger wore his hat, as indeed was often his custom within doors. He also sustained a clay pipe between his teeth, which he only removed for a brief space, when he deemed it necessary to apply for refreshment to a quart pot upon the table, which stood ready filled with gin and water, for the accommodation of the company. Master Bates was also attentive to the play, but being of a more excitable nature than his accomplished friend, it was observable that he more frequently applied himself to the gin and water, and moreover indulged in many jests and irrelevant remarks, all highly unbecoming a scientific rubber. Indeed, the artful, presuming upon their close attachment, more than once took occasion to reason gravely with his companion upon these improprieties, all of which remonstrances Master Bates received in extremely good part, merely requesting his friend to be blowed, or to insert his head in a sack, or replying with some other neatly turned witticism of a similar kind, the happy application of which excited considerable admiration in the mind of Mr. Chitling. It was remarkable that the latter gentleman and his partner invariably lost, and that the circumstance, so far from angering Master Bates, appeared to afford him the highest amusement, inasmuch as he laughed most uproariously at the end of every deal, and protested that he had never seen such a jolly game in all his born days. "That's two doubles in the rub," said Mr. Chitling, with a very long face, as he drew half a crown from his waistcoat pocket. "I never see such a feller as you. Jack, you win everything, even when we've good cards. Charlie and I can't make nothing of 'em." Either the master or the manner of this remark, which was made very ruefully, delighted Charlie Bates so much that his consequent shout of laughter roused the Jew from his reverie, and induced him to inquire what was the matter. "Matter, Fagin!" cried Charlie. "I wish you would watch the play. Tommy Chitling hasn't won a point, and I went partners with him against the artful and dumb." "Aye, aye," said the Jew with a grin, which sufficiently demonstrated that he was at no loss to understand the reason. "Try him again, Tom. Try him again." "No more of it for me, thank ye, Fagin," replied Mr. Chitling. "I've had enough. That 'ere dodger has such a run of luck that there's no standing against him." "Ha ha, my dear," replied the Jew. "You must get up very early in the morning to win against the dodger." "Morning," said Charlie Bates. "You must put your boots on overnight, and have a telescope at each eye, and an opera glass between your shoulders, if you want to come over him." Mr. Dawkins received these handsome compliments with much philosophy, and offered to cut any gentleman in company for the first picture card at a shilling at a time. Nobody accepting the challenge, and his pipe being by this time smoked out, he proceeded to amuse himself by sketching a ground plan of Newgate on the table with the piece of chalk, which had served him in lieu of counters, whistling, meantime, with peculiar shrillness. "How precious dull you are, Tommy," said the Dodger, stopping short when there had been a long silence, and addressing Mr. Chitling. "What do you think he's thinking of, Fagin?" "How should I know, my dear?" replied the Jew, looking round as he plied the bellows. "About his losses, maybe? Or the little retirement in the country that he's just left, eh? Ha, ha, ha! Is that it, my dear?" "Not a bit of it," replied the Dodger, stopping the subject of discourse as Mr. Chitling was about to reply. "What do you say, Charlie?" "I should say," replied Master Bates with a grin, "that he was uncommon sweet upon Betsy. See how he's a-blushing. Oh, my eye, here's a merry-go-rounder. Tommy Chitling's in love. Oh, Fagin, Fagin, what a spree! Thoroughly overpowered with the notion of Mr. Chitling being the victim of the tender passion, Master Bates threw himself back in his chair with such violence that he lost his balance and pitched over upon the floor, where, the accident abating nothing of his merriment, he lay at full length until his laugh was over, when he resumed his former position and began another laugh. We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.